Hey everyone. I wanted to make this quick video to show you what my ultimate garage golf simulator that I actually set up in my own house. The reason I wanted to do this video is simply because I haven't seen anybody do what I've done online. I've done a few different things here, and basically it allows me to really maximize the garage that I have. I have a single car garage, and I actually wanted to be able to still be able to use it as a garage as well when need be. So this is a guide that will basically show you how I built my system. So if it's something that you're looking for, keep watching this video. So my main goals was to have a simulator in my garage that looks like a professional simulator. I wanted something that looks really nice. But I also wanted to be able to remove everything in a few minutes so that I could actually bring my car in the garage. I live in Montreal in Canada, so therefore we get a lot of snow. So in case there's a snowstorm, it takes me about 3-4 minutes. I can actually remove everything, bring the car in the garage. Once the storm passes, take the car out. It takes me about 3-4 minutes to get everything set back up. So I really want to have something that I could actually use in my garage as well. I really wanted to have the highest possible image quality. I'll show you how I did that later on. And I wanted something that was very easy to use. I wanted to have everything in arm's reach. So you'll see in the how I set everything up. Everything is I can actually pretty much do everything right from the carpet. I wanted to have something that was relatively affordable as well. I didn't want to spend $20,000, $30,000 on a golf simulator, so it's something that's really not too expensive to build. Now, before I go any further, I just need to do a quick shameless plug on my company. Sorry about that, guys. But if you happen to work in health and safety or hazardous materials, if you're basically just go to our website, www.hazmatsystems.com. If you need HazDS management, lockout, tagout software to help you ship hazardous materials, we have all of that there. Now my shopping list. My system, sorry, is based off a SkyTrack, and I'm running the software TGC 2019, over 170,000 courses, so it is absolutely great. The image quality is great as well. So I really enjoyed this game. Um, Running off a standard gaming computer. I'm not going to go into the specs of the actual computer, but it's a high-end gaming computer. One of the reasons I needed to go high-end as well is because I am running on at 4K. So the projector that I have is a ViewSonic PX747-4K. So it is a true 4K projector. The image quality is absolutely insane. You have really hard time seeing any pixels on the screen, so it's fantastic. The screen that I got, I used to have a screen that had a lot of texture in my previous simulator, the one that I first built. So I wanted to change that. I got an imperfect SQ impact screen from partofpro.com. Absolutely incredible. Really wasn't expensive as well. The image quality is superb. And also the sound absorption. I mean, SQ stands for super quiet. I couldn't believe how quiet the screen is. I don't get any bounce back. It really absorbs the sound well. I don't need anything behind the screen. So it's really worth it. And because it was an imperfect screen, it actually ended up costing, it didn't cost a lot of money. So it's really worth it. Might add like a small coffee stain that was very barely visible in the bottom corner. So it's really worth it to go that route. Now to be able to roll the screen up and down, I have a newer photography roller off Amazon. So basically it's a system that allows me to roll the screen up. So when I want to bring the car in or use a garage, I can actually just roll the screen up. And then when I'm going back to simulator mode, I bring the screen down. In between the two extremities, I have a 10 feet by 2-inch EMT conduit. So I went with the metal conduit instead of a PVC conduit just to give it more rigidity, and it has no problem handling the weight at all. Now to be able to absorb the golf ball and absorb the sound, I put acoustic foam panels, purchased them again on Amazon. I'll show you a little bit later on what I did to absorb more of the impact, simply because these are an inch thick. so they're not thick enough to absorb the actual golf ball. So I'll show you what I did to solve that problem. The curtains, I just basically got black curtains, again off Amazon. The curtains, each panel is actually 9 feet tall, so 108 inches tall by 100-inch wide. Uh, Fantastic. They actually do absorb the ball. I hate to say it, I've hit a few shanks into the actual curtains, and it really absorbed the ball well. So those are fantastic, and they're just as just a standard curtain rod on top. The mat that I'm hitting is a True Strike hitting mat. Absolutely love it. I have a tennis elbow, and with this mat, it actually really does help. It is a great mat. You'll see the way that I actually set it up. You can adjust the panels to however you want. So I actually changed the order of the panels, so you'll see how mine is set up a little bit later on. To be able to move my SkyTrack back and forth, I got a Neewer mini camera track dolly rail slider from Amazon. Essentially what this allows you to do is you can move your SkyTrack back and forth, and therefore you're not hitting off the same spot on your carpet all the time, and you're not going to prematurely use up one spot on your carpet. Costs about 50 bucks, really worth it, again, directly off Amazon. Light, so I have a little light that actually lights up my hitting area. So you'll see how it's set up a little bit later on. Cost about 20 bucks. I got it off IKEA. A little LED bulb in there. Fantastic. Really enjoy it, and it's a great solution. So this is my garage. Again, as I mentioned, single car garage. One thing I want you to notice, I actually have a wall-mounted door opener. I used to have a traditional or center-mounted opener before. I actually hit it a few times with my driver last year. Last time it started up, I started smoking, so got rid of it and changed it to a wall-mounted setup. So therefore, I don't have a risk of hitting it when I'm actually swinging the golf club. This is the actual design, so you can see this is a top view of how it's actually set up. So you can see the screen next to the garage door, and the screen is essentially attached to doubled up 2x4s. So every yellow part that you see here is a 2x4. So it's a doubled up 2x4 that's attached only to the sides of the garage. So I didn't want to have anything attached to the ceiling. I didn't want to have anything attached to the bottom. I wanted everything attached to the sides. This will essentially allow me to raise the garage door above the actual structure. So the garage door, when it actually goes up, it actually goes above the structure that you see here. You'll notice also that the structure is basically offset to the right of the garage. The reason I did that is because I'm a right-handed player. I want to have everything more towards the right, so therefore I'm hitting more in the middle of the screen as much as I possibly can, obviously. The whole setup is basically the screen is 10 feet wide and the 2x4s are basically 8 feet long. And you'll notice also the curtain rods actually end up just inside of the actual screen. So therefore, when I actually slide the curtains out, they end up matching maybe like an inch inside the screen. So therefore, it looks like it's all one unit. So in the actual construction process, you'll see here, this is the main beam that I attached. This is the beam where the screen is attached, so you can see it slightly behind the actual 2x4. So this again is a doubled up 2x4, and you can see it's attached to the side of the garage. So if I bring the screen down, this is what it actually looks like. Again, you can see that the screen is offset more towards the right of the garage. One of the important things that I want to mention here is how I actually attached the screen to the system. So as I mentioned, I put a 2-inch by 10 feet EMT conduit, and I actually ended up just taping using duct tape. I ended up taping the screen to the actual EMT conduits. So far, it seems to hold really well. I took, I think it was Gorilla Tape, which is very strong tape. But it seems to hold very well. And on the bottom, what I actually ended up doing is I ended up doing a little insert so that I could actually insert a small EMT half-inch conduit just to give it a little bit of weight at the bottom. And by doing that, the screen is always nice and tight. Now, the issue that I was having is when I was actually hitting the golf ball, the screen would actually sort of come in towards the center, simply because it would slide on the EMT conduit. So I actually ended up cutting the bottom of the EMT conduit. So I'm just going to grab my mouse here, but basically cutting at the bottom here and here. And then basically gluing the the screen to the EMT conduit. So I just used spray-on glue. It's like Super 77 glue by 3M. It's spray-on glue, and I basically glued the screen to the EMT conduit at the bottom, and basically this solved my problem. You can see here when I retract the screen what it actually looks like. So again, I was a little bit worried with the construction of the actual rollers. Those are the rollers there. It is a plastic roller, but so far so good. It seems to be really well made. It is holding on really well. So this is how it's actually installed. And you can actually see the little slot that I did at the bottom of the screen where I actually glued the EMT conduit. Once the main beam was set up, then I ended up doing the rest of the beam, so you can see the rest of the 2x4s here. And then on each side, I actually attached the curtain rods. And then once the curtain rods were set up, you can see here the curtain rods, again, I put them a little bit higher, simply because I didn't want the top of the curtain rod to show. So it gives it a nice clean look. And then basically I covered everything in eighth inch masonite. So does a great job, pretty inexpensive and pretty light as well. And then on top of the masonite, what I actually ended up doing, actually let me go back to that. One thing I want you to notice here is I have a slight slant to the actual structure. The reason I did that is my screen was actually 8.5 feet tall. I couldn't go any taller than that, nor did I necessarily want to. But I wanted to have, where I'm actually hitting, I wanted to have more clearance. And since my garage door goes higher, I wanted to have a bit more clearance. So therefore, when I get to the top part, or basically this part here, I actually have about 9.5 feet tall. So therefore, I have a lot of room to swing. If I want to swing my driver, I can swing full swing, no problem. And I'm 6'3", so I'm a pretty tall guy, and I have no problem with clearance here. Now to absorb, I mentioned earlier that I have acoustic panels that go on the system, on the structure. I was afraid that they wouldn't be enough to actually absorb the impact. So what I actually ended up doing is I bought little foam tiles that you could pick up. I picked them up at Walmart. But basically, I basically glued those again with the spray-on glue to the masonite, and that really gives it a good shock absorption. It's not fantastic. The balls, I mean, if I hit a lob shot, the ball can still come back pretty quickly. But it does the trick. And then on top of that is I actually glued the acoustic panels. So with the acoustic panels on, it actually absorbs the sound quite nicely. My daughter's room is right above, so I didn't want to wake her up when I'm hitting, and it does a great job for that. And it really does give it an awesome look. So this is the setup once it's actually finished. You can see the acoustic panels on the top, you can see the curtains on the side, and the screen rolled down. The carpet is just a standard green carpet, so nothing special about that. And if I need to bring the car in, you can see that within a few seconds I can actually scroll the screen up and move the curtains to the side as well. One thing you'll notice as well is, let's say I need to access tools. I have actually tools on the wall, mostly on the left side, but I have tools behind my curtains. So even if the simulator is all set up, I can just slide my curtain down. I can actually access all my tools right there. This is the hitting area. So you'll see the True Strike mat. Again, I did something that I haven't seen anybody else do here, so I wanted to talk to you briefly about that. The hitting area, my main issue is the floor of my garage obviously has a slight slant to it to obviously go towards the center drain. So the problem is I didn't have necessarily a flat floor. So with what I ended up doing is I bought I think it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Actually, sorry, it's a 1/2 inch thick piece of plywood, and I put it underneath my heading mat. What this allows me to do also is, as you can see, I attached my post to it, and I was actually able to put my SkyTrack on it, and I actually drilled a few holes at the bottom of my SkyTrack, or at the bottom of the mount, so that actually, when I put my slider, I can always put it back at the same place. Now, notice on the mat, I mentioned the configuration. My configuration is a little bit different. To me, this is the ultimate configuration for a SkyTrack user using a True Strike mat. And I'm simply using bird tees so that I can actually hit off of those. So that's fantastic. And you can see my ball collection is on the left side. And you can see my lamp that's there, and you can see the keyboard. This is just a standard 4x4 piece of cedar. I put it in a post holder, and I basically cut it at 30 degrees on top and put my a little piece of wood there so I can actually put my keyboard. So everything is right there. I have my little cheat sheet for TGC. So everything is right there, so I can actually do everything without having to leave the mat. So, guys, this is what I consider is my ultimate golf simulator for my garage. Obviously, there's setups that are way better than that, but I'm pretty happy with the result. You can see with the lights off on the bottom right here, you can see with the lights off what it actually looks like. So, extremely happy with the results. You can see the sharpness of the screen. Like I said, the image quality is absolutely incredible. And obviously put a little TV there. Like I said, I am from Montreal, so I gotta cheer on for the Canadians when the hockey season eventually starts. But obviously at this time I was watching the Masters. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, guys.